Good morning from chaotic Cali, where we have people that are lacking some gray matter between the ears in charge of things, and woke nonsense. Anyways, these protests in Los Angeles were supposed to be peaceful, and if you've been paying attention to the news, as I've got to look at some of the stuff, very easy to observe that those that aren't peaceful are involved in trying to set the city ablaze. And so there's been people captured on video. One guy had a backpack and he shows up with a sledgehammer in the evening, starts breaking apart public property, the sidewalk, the curb area, getting chunks of concrete to distribute to others. And then there's recently, someone purchased large quantities of gear, obviously in advance because they had it at the ready when they needed it, and some of the corporate news outlets were kind of wondering about this. If there's any real journalism out there, they would be asking questions as to who purchased these shields, these face shields. Eric Darty, who pointed this out on Fox News, he says actually captured some footage of someone distributing these shields that normally cost about $60 each. And they had boxes full to hand out. These were paid for. Bionic shields. They were being trucked to Los Angeles prior to this so-called protest. And so obviously there's some nefarious deeds going on behind the scenes. If you can remember, just a few years ago, our nation, big cities across our nation, were going through these strategically planned chaos, to usurp our nation, to bring it to its unraveling. And so how come nobody's asking question as to who paid for these things? Where did they come from? Who are these so-called paid agitators? President Trump clearly stated that these are people who are animals, in his words, and paid insurrectionists or paid agitators. We know for a fact that Soros and his cronies often use their resources to fund such chaos because they want to overthrow governments because it's part of their global agenda. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. This is all true. You can look it up for yourself. And so, TV cameras caught these shields being handed out to peaceful protesters. Okay, if they're peaceful, why would they need these shields? And they have footage of boxes of this stuff being unloaded there at the ready. I remember, I think it was in Portland a few years ago, where someone showed up with stacks of bricks, pallets of bricks, to be distributed to those who can, those peaceful protesters, and throw them at, agencies, police, and others, because, peaceful protests require bricks. And so I wonder if somebody having to order these from Amazon, I doubt it. Someone had to store this stuff up, ahead of time, just in case there was a reason to be having these stuff ready in Los Angeles. I can't believe that nobody in the media, well, there are a few, that are asking question is, who paid for this stuff? Why are they handing these things out? There's an old phrase, follow the money. Follow the money and you'll find out who's behind all this stuff. I'm sure, our administration is well aware of who's funding this stuff. That's why there was a strong reaction to it, in spite of the lies that are being perpetrated in our local news here in the LA area. It's amazing. I can barely stand to listen to the nonsense because it's all either people are completely blind and deceived in their thinking, or they purposely don't want to believe what's happening. And so it's sad to behold. Our own governor called Mr. or President Trump a liar. because President Trump had called him. And so recently he was put to shame publicly because President Trump reached out. I read an article in Gateway Pundit this morning, and he reached out to a reporter out here and showed him the official log that he did call and spoke to our governor for 16 minutes and told him about the need to do something to enforce the law. And, obviously our governor, who, thinks he's the queen of the land, and that wasn't a slip of the tongue. I meant it because he lacks masculinity. That's a whole nother issue. But anyways, it just bothers me to no end that nobody's asking these simple but real questions as who's paying for all this stuff. And then, there was also seen I guess X, formerly called Twitter, caught a source on that news media stating that there was someone driving around in vans with these bionic face shields to hand out to these protesters there. And then not only that, but there was a concern about a Craigslist advertisement of extremely tough, brave men that was posted recently, trying to recruit paid agitators. And then they went on to say this in this article I read: Snopes cannot determine if the ad is connected to the riots in any way, but even if they were forced to admit that, the ad was real. And according to this, Snopes couldn't verify or deny this. So I'm not saying it's true, but June 9th, 2025, screenshots of an actual Craigslist advertisement seeking extremely tough, brave men for $6,500 to $12,500 per week began circulating on social media. Users on X posted the screenshots as proof that an ongoing Los Angeles immigration protests were orchestrated and well-funded chaos. The social media post gained significant traction, with an example on X receiving 267,200 views and another garnering 374,300 views as of this particular article that I read. And so, think about that. They're paying people to come to Los Angeles to start stuff. Is it real? I don't know. Follow the money. All I know is that we're living in the last days. Jesus said lawlessness would abound, and for that reason the love of many would grow cold. And so, my dear brother, my sister out there who might come across this video, don't lose heart. Get as close to God in these last days as you can. Stay on fire for God. We are living in tumultuous, perilous times. But be ready, because, man, He is coming soon. And so keep your heart right. Stay prayed up. Stay read up in the Bible. Till next time, keep on keeping on.